Good morning and welcome to a conversation with Mose. And as always, I pray life is treating you well wherever you are in the world and that you're one day closer to your dreams and prayers coming true. Decided to do something a little different today in honor of my birthday as well as the late great James Baldwin's birthday, who was August the 2nd, and mine was July 31st. And actually, President Obama's birthday was yesterday, August the 4th. Great Leos, great minds, great men. Anyway, I'm going to read an excerpt from James Baldwin's book, I Am Not Your Negro, available now where books are sold. As concerns Malcolm and Martin, I watched two men coming from unimaginably different backgrounds, whose positions originally were poles apart, driven closer and closer together. By the time each died, their positions had become virtually the same position. It can be said, indeed, that Martin picked up Malcolm's burden, articulated the vision in which Malcolm had begun to see, and for which he had paid with his life, and that Malcolm was one of the people Martin saw on the mountaintop. Medgar was too young to have seen this happen, though he hoped for it, and would have been surprised. But Medgar was murdered first. I was older than Medgar, Malcolm, and Martin. I was raised to believe that the eldest was supposed to be the model for the younger, and was, of course, expected to die first. Not one of these three lived to be 40. I just wanted to honor him and pay homage to James today for several reasons. Before I bring you to the subject matter for today, I just somehow fell in love with this man and his work years into my adult life. And I wish I had been introduced to him as a younger person. I mean, I really think it would have made a world of difference. Which why it's so interesting with Black history now. I have so many thoughts about Black history and what it should be taught, and I don't have children, and that's a whole nother subject. But with James, I just wanted to honor him today. I've dedicated one of my books to him. I've also used one of his quotes on my books. And he's just somebody that I respect and have grown to love more and more his work and his mission, and what I felt what his assignment was. And I feel his anger, his rage, probably more than I want to. But I just wanted to say, like I said, I feel like I really wanted to try to carve my own path about my life and kind of mirror his in some way. But what I love about that excerpt from that book is these men didn't live to be 40, and I managed to live to be 55. And to be honest, that's why I was so grateful. I mean, to be a Black man in this country, to live to be 55, to live to be in your 50s is just a miraculous thing in itself, which is sad to say. And my brother as well has lived to be in his 50s, and my dad is still alive, and he will be 75 in October. So I'm truly blessed in that regard, and I'm really, that kind of reminded me, that these men didn't make it to 40, and he felt compelled to protect them as the eldest person, and almost sounded like he felt bad that he lived longer than them. But I love that he paid homage to them as well. Another Black man paying homage to other Black men, like I'm doing now. And again, I think it's something we should also continue to do. Give respect and pay homage to our ancestors. So, that being said, my subject matter for today is Black men who pray. And I wasn't sure, honestly, I was going to do a totally different subject, but I kind of felt like I was doing a lot of stuff about racism and a lot of things about what's going on in the world, and I was starting to lean toward that. But I kind of want to get back to something a little bit more positive, a little bit more thought-provoking. And I want to dispel the mystery of black men who pray. And I'm not to be confused with Christian or any religious practice. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about men who believe, who were taught to believe, they just practice a different way. You know, they have their own temple in their head, in their car, in their house, in their apartment. They don't practice the same way you practice. They don't pray the same way you pray, but they pray. And I believe, because I'm one of those men, you know, I don't necessarily believe or practice. I don't organize religion. I'm not a fan of. I don't like being called a Christian. And I'm sure people are clenching their pearls by me saying that, but I don't. I don't think if you're a true Christian, you would do some of the things that I've seen people do to me and to other people. So I consider myself a believer in God, in a higher being, whatever you choose to say. But I think there are more black men that pray quietly to themselves, way more than we'd admit. And to be honest with you, I think it's their right. You don't have a right to tell a person how to have a relationship with God. And honestly, that's the one thing with women, black women in particular, that I kind of had issue with for quite some time, if I'm being honest. I always feel like I've had friends, female friends, family members, that were always trying to get their man to go to their church with them or go get closer to God. And I always wondered, how do you get them closer to God? You know, worry about your relationship. You know, be a beacon of light. Be positive. You know, be a positive influence if you want somebody to get closer to God. But you're not a conduit. I don't think anyone is. I think you have to, anybody that wants a relationship with God has to make up their mind. God doesn't force anybody to do anything. So to have another human being, God don't need no help with anybody getting closer to him. The only thing you could do is share your experiences, share your testimony. Because again, I'm not going to beat women up about Christianity and some of the practices that I think women have had to get men closer to God, black men in particular. But I just think I've never understood that. You know, I can't get my brother and sister into heaven. I can't get my parents. If I had kids, I couldn't get them into heaven. Or whatever you believe heaven is. But I would want, if I had children, I would want them to believe in God, to have their own practices, to experience their own miracles. Because I think, again, you have to decide if you want to believe in something that you can't see. You know, but I truly believe that there is a God. And the list is long why. If you listen to my podcast, I've shared some miracles, like the fact that I'm cancer free, HIV free. I've had I was in a car accident in 2004. I totaled the car. I walked away from that. There's so many big miracles and little miracles. That podcast wouldn't be long enough. But I think that to dispel the mystery that, you know, even the black men that have lost their lives, like Malcolm, Martin, and Medgar, it's especially men who made those sacrifices. You know, I think that there's always going to be that one person that's going to be willing to be a sacrificial lamb to change the world. And if we look at history, we don't look at it from that perspective. But when you believe that much, you're willing to die for your people. That's big. That's huge. You know, that's Jesus big. You know, we always speak on Jesus, and I'm not taking away from Jesus at all. But I think there are a lot of people that have been led by Jesus's example, that are willing to do whatever for their people. And I'd like to believe I'm one of those people. Honestly, I've never seen so much turmoil and death. I've never had so much compassion for my people in my entire life, because I never thought about it really. And I honestly pray for my people. And I mean that literally. I mean, like I said, I don't have children. I don't have a lot of the burdens. Well, I won't say burdens. I don't have a lot of the responsibilities that people my age have. People are raising their grandchildren. People have kids that still live at home. I don't have the fears or the anxiety every time my kids or adult children leave my presence. You know, whether they live out of state or the first time they get pulled over by a police officer. I actually have no idea what that feels like. I mean, I have my own anxiety that I carry every day, which I'll get into. But my point is, I pray every morning. I get up and I pray and I thank God for every little thing. The fact that I can sip coffee, the fact that I can breathe, that I can walk, that I can make love, that I can articulate, that I can read, that I have memories, that I can talk to my mother and father still, my sister and brother. The fact that I have had a really good life. I've had some really rough bumps, that I'm a survivor. I'm a brave man. I'm a very brave person. Didn't realize. I don't really like giving myself credit for that, but I am. I'm very brave. The things I'm willing to endure, the things that I've endured, I know everybody can't do it. I know everybody can't be transparent. Everybody can't be vulnerable. But I pray that God gives me the strength to do those things. It's not easy. But I know that I'm not the only black man praying. This I know. Just because you don't see us posting on Facebook or Twitter or Threads or whatever the social media outlet is, we're praying. There's black men praying for their children, their sons, quietly, even though we all think, oh, our fathers don't love us or they're not there or whatever the case may be. Or they're not as affectionate or as vocal as their mom or their grandmother or their grandfather. But black men pray, and I grew up in church. I saw my grandfather praying. I saw my father pray. Even though I didn't know what they were praying for, what they were praying about, I didn't understand getting saved. A part of me still doesn't really truly understand that whole breakdown, because I feel like we can't save each other per se. I think the only thing we could do is lead each other to God and then let God do the rest, because all our paths are different. None of us have the same assignment. So some of us are here for a long period of time. Some of us are here for a minute, a second, a lifetime. And what I've learned to do is enjoy my lifetime and not be afraid of death, because I've had death happen so much in my life that I was afraid of it, especially now being 55. I've lost people to heart attacks quietly, or people who've died in their sleep. For a long time, I was paranoid about that. But I'm getting more and more at peace with the idea that I won't know when it's time for me I won't even know that I've died. How will I know? I'll just be gone. But the only thing I can do is do the best I can while I'm alive. And as I pray for myself, I do pray for everybody. Again, selfishly, I do pray for black people more. I do. I think we inherited a lot of things we didn't ask for. I think our marriages, our relationships, our families are a lot more challenged than other races. Things that we didn't ask for, and to be able to be married, to be able to raise children, to be able to do the normal things, go on vacation, just, watch your kids graduate from college, or nurture and care for your kids, pouring into your children. Nobody wants their kids to do as bad as them. Nobody. You want your kids to have more than you did. So it's like you want to be able to pour into them. The reason Beyonce is so successful, because her parents poured into her. Somebody paid for the lessons, the dance lessons and the singing lessons, and they made those sacrifices to make sure their kids did okay. And just like they're doing the same thing for their kids. So people can hate on you for being successful, but that's God and that's preparation. That's humility. I think we've gotten away from humility. I thank God every day for my parents giving me humility. I know what it's like to have, and I know what it's like to have not. I treat everybody the same. The only thing I ask is respect. I realize that everybody's not going to like me. My father told me that before I moved out of the house. It's like one of those things. One thing I remember him telling me, everybody's not going to like you. And he didn't say it was going to be a white person or a black person. He just said, period. Once you leave this house, there are people that's just simply not going to like you. And you got to be okay with that. And coming from a childhood where I had a temper and I had attitude, and I still do. But I ask God every day for assistance with that, because I know I'm human and I know me. If I don't want to endure something, I'm out. Peace. If I'm angry, if I'm frustrated, I'm not really good at hiding it. Everything I do now at this point in my life, I ask God to help me with it. If I do a podcast, if I write something, I'm like, God, use me as a vehicle. Because there's so much negativity in the world. I mean, so much. I am not gaslighting the world. They don't need nothing from me to light, the world. The country is angry enough. Moses is not gaslighting people to boycott. If I can provoke a thought in somebody, then the only thing I really want to see that I pray for is that black people take care of each other. We are so divided amongst ourselves that I pray that every day that we support each other, or we learn how to support each other. Because some of us know how to support each other and some of us don't. And I think that's the issue. And the other issue is white people, I feel, have turned us into competitive people. Why are we competing against each other? We don't want the same things. So it's like, I don't want 15 cars. I don't need a mansion. Some people do. I'm not trying. And another thing I learned from my dad, I'm not worried about what the Joneses are doing next door. I could care less. They don't have the same lifestyle. They don't have the same assignment. I'm praying that God keeps me in line with my assignment. I'm not worried about what other people are doing. Has it been easy to do? Not so much. But I think because of all the history of lynchings and killings and stuff that's going on with black men in particular right now, that you would think that, and I'm sure some of us don't believe in God. You might have some men out there that really don't believe in God. And I can understand that perspective as well. A lot of things have happened to us. Oh my God, the list is long. And like I said, I'm not finna go down the list of the treachery and the literally the stuff that we've had to endure pretty much our whole lives. Our parents, our ancestors, great grandparents had to endure. And the thing is, I just want to reiterate the fact that black men pray. I think we all have prayer closets. And I think when women think, oh, your man's not praying, he's praying. Trust me, he's praying. He's dealing with stuff he's not telling you about because he don't think you can take it. Then it's like, oh, you need to go to church with me. Sometimes you just got to pray with your man wherever he's at. I don't care if it's in the alley. If it's in the car and he wants to pray, pray there. Why are you worrying about him praying around other people at church? Let him work his way to church, but let God lead him there. Trust and believe. You trying to tell a man what kind of relationship to have with God is just going to push him away. A black man anyway. A man needs to be led on his own. You can lead him there by example, but telling him when and how and what to say and what to do, you have no idea the day in life of a black man, literally. I mean, this has nothing against black women. But for lack of a better word, the shit that we have to deal with every day in terms of the disrespect, the little things that we have to put up with for our families, for the betterment of our lives, the things that I've had to suppress. It's been really challenging. I mean, I have never felt so vulnerable in my life. And when I say I give my fears to God, my anxiety, and the list is long. I haven't seen my family in 2 years. That bothers me every day. I have aging parents that I have not seen. I'm seeing on FaceTime. Every time the phone rings after a certain time of night or day, I'm thinking something that happened. To live like that, to think that way every day. I wake up, and then I'm sure they think that about me. They have an aging son they haven't seen in 2 years. And I have to give God those feelings. I have to. I ride him around in my car and I pray in my car. And sometimes I just break down and cry. Sometimes I can't even see when I'm driving because either I'm upset or I'm sad or I'm full. One of the three, but I'll pull over in a minute. I'll pull over and say, you know what? God, you get the glory. And my relationship with God is very important to me because I cultivated this relationship. So when anybody tells me, oh, I want to bring you closer to God, find out what kind of relationship I have with God first. No, I can't quote scriptures and I can't tell you randomly this or that, but I can tell you what God has done and what he's done in my life. Get to know me. Find out what he's doing in my life before you assume. Because I think a lot of people assume they know people's relationship with God. I don't care if you're dealing with an alcoholic, a weed smoker. You don't know what their relationship with God is like. You don't know why they smoking weed all the time or why they drinking. You don't know. So it's like why a black man is angry, or if a black man cries, he must be weak or he must be gay or whatever. I wish somebody would question my manhood. I don't owe my manhood an explanation to anybody. Even if I was straight and I was married with children, if I had a son and daughter, you don't owe nobody an explanation for your life. The only person you need to answer to is God. As long as you respect and honor people and do unto others as they say, as you have them do unto you. But this misconception that black men don't get on their knees and actually pray. Like I said, just because you don't see it don't mean it's not happening. And I just don't. Sometimes it seems like, if you break down or if men show affection to each other, like a brotherhood, they must be gay if they hug each other, if they kiss each other in affection. Doesn't mean they're gay. Doesn't mean black men need to be lifted all the time. I don't care how rich and successful they are. We all want to hear it. I'm proud of you. Keep going. Good job. Some of us don't hear it at all. And sometimes we got to tell ourselves that. And it's something sex won't take away. Drinking, you can't get high enough. And it ain't enough sex to reassure you that everything's going to be all right. Sex is fleeting. It lasts. It's nice when it's happening. But then you still got to go back to the bills. You still got to go back to the drama of your life. And only God can help you carry that. There's no human being on earth that can help you carry the stuff that God can help you carry. And having to start all over, over again, starting all over after a divorce, starting all over after losing a child, or starting all over when your kids move out of the house. Nobody can help you with those things but God. There's not enough friends. You can have people around you to help you get through it, but any kind of pain, death, rape, murder, there's nobody that can shoulder that. And I thank God that, I really do. I thank God for that every day, that I haven't had any kind of tragedy that close to me. At this point in my life, I don't know what that would do to me, or I don't know what it would do to my psyche. I really don't. And I thank God every day. But I get up every morning, I pray. I thank God again for my life first. And I don't plan my days anymore. I literally say, God, be a part of my day. Be a part of the conversation. If I'm talking to my parents, if I'm with my partner, I want him to be present with us. It's important to me that he's in the midst. So no matter what's going on, be present with us. Be the third party that's making the day enjoyable. If I'm in a situation, if I'm upset or if I'm getting upset, God, tell me what to do. Tell me what to say. Because I'm getting more trusting God more with the harder stuff. And again, I was the kind of person that still wants to do it on my own. This is what I'm going to do. And I want to speak up for the men that I know who pray, that you don't realize they're praying. Like I said, they got their own prayer closet, their own altar, per se. They're reading their scriptures. They know their Bible. But they're, whether it was through their grandmother or whether they was through a friend, stop trying to get your husband or boyfriend to get closer to God. Just let it happen. Let it happen. Don't try to manipulate sex. And I've known many women that try to withhold sex because he won't go to church with you or whatever. I've never understood that logic, honestly. Just like I've been hit on at church by gay men, pastors that have hit on me. I never mix God with my social. I've never done that. The two have never crossed. I've never used God to get sex from anybody or to me. Those kind of things completely turn me off. Again, it's to each his own. Do you, meeting somebody at church. Church people are the freakiest, most almost treacherous people that you ever want to meet is at church. You'd be better off going to Walmart and meeting somebody in the frozen food aisle, getting the Holy Ghost in front of, vegetables. I mean, no disrespect, but again, my experiences with organized religion and church are very questionable. But I'm not here to put that down. I'm just saying everybody is not walking that path. And getting back to James Baldwin, what I do remember about reading one of his books, and it's escaping me right now, but I knew he grew up and he became a preacher, a young preacher, and the things he learned about the church and some of the things that he didn't like and some of the practices that he had to unlearn. It's so interesting reading about his life and his experiences and the way he has wrote them down for us to go back over. And that's exactly what I've done with my poetry, with my books, with my screenplay. I want to have a blueprint of what I think people should do, my suggestions on how to get through this life, specifically for black men. Because I feel like everything is designed for black women and women, and I never hear the avenues for us. And some of us need to be encouraged. And some of us, I know for a fact, speaking for myself, get discouraged. Your faith is questioned. Believe me, I've gone through all of that. I'm still going through that. And I'm still trying to figure out really what is my assignment. What is it exactly I'm here for? I feel like I know, but then it's like I really don't. And every day that's the one prayer I ask God, what is it I'm supposed to be doing? And to help me with my anger and my rage, because I don't want it to kill me. I really don't. I don't want to have a heart attack because I'm suppressing stuff, or I just had to just lose my cool. But I just want to reiterate the fact that I know there are black men out there who pray faithfully and to themselves, and like I said, in their cars, in their bedrooms, alleyways, wherever they can. And sometimes you might see a tear falling down their eye, or you might see them lose themselves. Maybe they are sad or even depressed. But don't assume that you know. A lot of times we go to God first. And sometimes we just want to hear it's okay. And again, I think that the guys that are quietly praying to themselves, that are really proud, I stand with you on that. I do. And I encourage you to keep doing it. And reach out to somebody else to say, hey, let's pray together, or whatever the case may be. But again, let people find their way to God on their own. Just live your life by example. Share your testimony. Plant your own seeds in people's minds to lead them to the right place. But don't force people. Don't guilt shame people into saying, oh, you don't know God. You're no closer to God than I am. You, on Judgment Day, your name is not going to be showed up next to mine. It's like one of those things. Everybody is on their own when it comes to their relationship with God. So, again, this is about celebrating black men who pray. Faithfully, guys who are faithful in their own way, that are really trying to live right and do right. So I say thank you to you and to everybody out there trying to get ahead. So that being said, I also want to talk about my store, All Things Moetic, where you can actually get all my books, my product, my pictures, my really everything creative, created by me. If you don't know my store, it's All Things Moetic. Please stop by. As we get closer to the holidays, I'm sure I'll probably come up with some, because I also sell baskets as well. But I also want to talk about my upcoming event in October. It's called the Black Experience Exhibit, which I will be having in October. And I'm working on the details right now. And if you want to donate to my campaign, there is a GoFundMe campaign out there for this event. You can contribute as low as $5 or as high as $1,000, I believe. My goal is $3,000 for this particular event, and I'm really excited about it. And I'll be talking more about it as it gets closer to the event. And I'll be selling stuff, and actually, you'll be able to buy stuff live, even if you're not actually there at the event. So I'm going to try to make it work so where even if you can't come, if you see some pieces that you want, you can buy it online via. I'm either going to do it Facebook Live, Instagram Live. I'm not really sure yet. I'm working on those details. But you will be able to participate even if you can't come. But as always, I pray that you got something from this podcast. And I also pray that life is treating you well wherever you are in the world, and that you're one day closer to your dreams and prayers coming true. Thank you for listening.